Okay. Well, how I met your mother was
Hey,
I
that's
was
a
standing in line. I was standing in line at DC Teachers College, and I was signing up for a French class. It was an elective. And your mom came up and asked if she could get in front of me in the line. And I looked at her and I said, she was so pretty. I said, oh yeah, you can get in front of me. And I let her get in line in front of me, and we ended up in the same French class. Uh, she sat in the front of the class and I sat in the back of the class. She learned French and I learned how to look at her. And that was all. Oh, I spent the whole class most of the time. I learned very little French, but I learned enough to pass. But I spent most of my time looking at her. And
where was
that was probably that was the beginning.
Was that at, where did you say you were?
I was at DC Teachers College.
Oh, so you didn't meet her until after high school?
Right, because see, I only saw her in high school maybe a couple of times because I only stayed at Spangone for half a year.
Oh.
And one day, me and this guy Henry Washington were walking. I don't know if you all know the layout of Spangone, but we were walking after school. Henry and I were walking down toward Benning Road. And we came out the front door of the school and went down past the golf course, headed toward the bus stop. She came out the back door of the school and was headed toward the tunnel. There used to be a tunnel underneath Benning Road to get you to the other side and get the students to the other side of Benning Road so they could catch the bus. And Henry and I were walking in the front, and I saw her walking down that sidewalk out back. And I told Henry, I said, damn, Henry, look at that girl right there. I said, she sure is pretty, right? And I remember that to right now. She had on some yellow slingshots and a white pleated skirt. I mean, she was just fine, right? So after that, I saw her a couple of times in the hall, but my attendance wasn't too great at school. So it's a wonder I ever saw her at all, right? I don't even remember seeing her more than a couple of times in the hallways going back and forth between classes. Now, this was at Spangone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I just dropped out of Spangone because when I turned 16, I dropped out of school. So that story, that part of the story stopped there. And the next time I ever saw her again was in line signing up for this French class.
Did
And I sort of recognized her.
She saw you at Spangone?
We never talked about that. I never asked her if she remembered seeing me at Spangone.
Ah. She probably would have volunteered that, huh?
She would have, and she probably wouldn't have noticed me. I mean, she wouldn't have remembered me. Mm-mm. I doubt it. I doubt very seriously if she ever remembered seeing me. First time she ever saw me probably or noticed me was when we were at Spangone. I mean, at DC Teachers College.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, now that I think about it, it was right bold of her to walk up and ask me if she could get in front of me in this line signing up for this class, because the line was kind of long, right?
She knew she was pretty.
Huh?
She knew she was pretty.
She was pretty, but why in the world did she ask me? Because I guess it was because I was, I can't remember exactly, but I was
close to the front.
Closer to the front than I was closer to the front than she was.
She probably wasn't gonna ask a girl.
No, she wasn't gonna ask no girl, and I don't remember how many males were in the line anyway. But now that I think about that, she had a lot of nerve. Gonna break the line, right? But she got in there, and after that, I don't even know if she remembered or thought about us being in the same French class, because I was in the back and I never said anything to her in or out of the class. All I remember is
When did
that
y'all start dating then?
because Charlie Payne came to me and asked me, he said, or sort of suggested to me that I join the Kappas. And I told him, I said, yeah, okay, Charlie, I'll join, because Charlie Payne was a Kappa, right? And it was time for pledging. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll pledge Kappa. So I got on the line for Kappa, went to all the interviews, the meetings and everything, and I was accepted as a pledgee to be a Kappa. And online, we were scrollers, like to scroll something with a pen or something like that. We were called scrollers. That was our pledge for Kappa. And the scrollers had what they call a scrollers ball, this big dance for scrollers. And we could invite people. Well, this guy named Dickie Mitchell came up to me and said, look, man, T wants you to take her to the dance. So I said, well, sure, I'll take her, right? I don't think she really wanted to go to dance with me. She just wanted to go to the dance. She wanted to go to the ball, right? And she needed some scroller to invite her to the dance. So I told him, I said, well, sure, I'll take her. So that was our first time together. And I picked her up and took her to the scroller ball and said, Sam and Gwen let me use the car. So that made it real good, because now I'm driving and I could take her and places that she wanted to go. And then after that, we went to several other dances and everything together, but we never considered ourselves a couple. We were just friends. And I would take her places and she wanted to go, and she would go with me places I wanted to go, which wasn't that much, because we were in school, we was studying, and I was working, and it was like an off and on thing. But after that first year, and we went to parties together and everything. So after that first year, her mother died. And when her mother died, that's when we started getting close, because I was really there for her, especially since I was driving. I was there for her to go through everything she was going through with her mother, because Brenda wasn't a lot of help. Her father was incarcerated. So she was sort of out there, had to do just about everything, right? She had to make all the arrangements and stuff like that, right? Well, she was engaged to this guy named Ignatius Marshall. We call him Iggy. She was engaged to him when she left Spingarn. When she graduated, I think, from Spingarn, she got engaged to Iggy. But Iggy decided to go into the service. He joined the military. So he was in the service when I met her, and we started going out and everything together at DC Teachers College. He was in the service. And when her mother died, he was in the military. He wasn't there to be with her at that time. And we just grew closer together, because there I was and she needed somebody to go through all that with her. So that sort of drew us together. Now, I don't remember her ever breaking off the engagement. We never talked about her and Iggy. He just sort of was shut out of the picture altogether all of a sudden. He was just gone from the picture.
So how did you know she was engaged?
She told me she was engaged.
Okay.
Eventually, she told me. But my memory about all of that is kind of shaky, but I knew that we started spending more time together, and then I started going over her house. And then we buried her mother, that was when we really started getting close, because she had to take over just about all the responsibilities. She had to go. That was when she had to go and get her job at the telephone company. She got a job at the telephone company. And then she was basically running the house. She was in the house, Brenda was in the house, and they had a roomer named Bessie. And I think your mom's was sort of taking care of just about everything with her salary and all at the telephone company and trying to go to school. And we sort of unofficially became a couple. As I remember, one night she came to me, I was over there, and one night she came to me and told me that this guy had asked her to go to a Kappa function. It was the dawn. You see, the Kappas had a thing called the dawn dance, D-A-W-N, the dawn dance, right? And this was they do it every year, once a year. And this was one of them dress up kinds of things, men wear suits and ties and all this stuff, right? And she asked me if I would be upset if she went with this guy. His name was Bernard Dory, and he was a Kappa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told her, well, no, I don't mind if you go. I mean, we weren't a couple; we were just together, So I told her, no, I don't care. So she told me, well, no, I'm not gonna go. I don't want to go. So I said, well, fine. And then the next day after that dance, when I went over to her house, the roommate.
Why didn't you ask her to go?
I wasn't a Kappa. I was a scroller. I was a pledger. And I don't know why. I wasn't even going to the dance. I wasn't even going to go to the dance, right? Well, I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
But Bessie came downstairs. We were sitting downstairs in the living room, dining room. And Bessie came downstairs, and I don't know whether Bessie saw me sitting there or not. But she asked your mother, well, how was the dance last night? And Theresa looked at me like, uh-oh.
So she went.
She went to that dance, right? Yeah. Well, she wasn't going to tell me that she went, right? So Bessie let the cat out the bag, right? And we didn't really talk about it that much. I looked at her and she looked at me like, Bessie, goddamn, why you say that? That. But it was okay, I named no
You had
problem.
already said you didn't care if she went.
Yeah, I told her I didn't mind, but the fact that she lied about it and went, I never.
So she had told you she didn't go?
She had told me she was not going to go.
Oh, but she changed her mind.
She changed her mind and she went, and Bessie said that she went, and that way she was sort of like, uh-oh. That wasn't good, right? But it wasn't no big thing because.
But she wasn't planning to go, and then she changed her mind.
I don't know. There were a lot of things we never really talked about that were kind of moments where things could have gone different if we had discussed it, right? But I remember after, let me give you an example. One time when we were in college, we were taking this music class together. And the teacher gave us this assignment to learn about overtures, movements, and stuff like that in music, orchestral music. And she had this friend. Now I'll tell you who could tell you about it more than me is Carol. When we go out there, I'm gonna ask Carol about it. Carol may not want to talk about it, but I'll ask her anyway. We were married, and she came to me and said that this friend that Carol had hooked her up with this guy that we're going to teach them how to do stuff on the piano. Like for the music class, going to teach you stuff on overtures or whatever, movement stuff on the piano, right? And she told me she was going, and I said, yeah, okay, fine, because hell, I'm working, but when she came home that evening, she was crying, right? And I said to myself, well, nobody goes to a music lesson and come home crying. So something happened at that music lesson that wasn't right. But I didn't push it. I didn't ask her. I just left it like that.
You ain't asked her what happened?
Nope, I didn't ask her what happened. And it was almost like I really didn't want to know what happened. Something happened that wasn't right. But I didn't ask her about it. And I did say to myself at the time, though, nobody goes to a music lesson and comes home crying, right? Not an adult. A child might, but not an adult. So something happened, but I just ignored it, and just went on about my business. And she went on. We never, throughout our whole marriage, we never discussed that. Never brought it up, never talked about it at all, right? But Carol set it up. So if anybody knows about it, Carol knows about it. Because see, Carol at the time was hanging out with her Uncle Kenneth, right? No, Carol was hanging out with Philip. Philip is Michael's father. They knew the girl that she went to that piano lesson with. Her name was Phyllis Mosley. They used to call her PM. So Carol knew Phyllis because Phyllis was the guy that was supposed to be teaching these lessons. His name was Bobby McFadden, I think. And he had a band, and the band used to play at cabarets and things around the city. He had a name around the city because he had a band, right, that played. And that's who she went to see for these lessons.
Bobby
and Carol, Bobby, I think his name was Bobby McFadden. He had a band, and they were a popular band in the city. And they played at the clubs in the city. And that's who Carol threw Philip, because Phyllis was Philip's sister. So Michael's father was Philip, and Philip's sister was the one that she went to this lesson with.
Oh, okay.
So Carol would have all of that information because Carol helped set it up
Right.
for her to go to this piano lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect it's something that lesson didn't go right because he wasn't there by himself. I think he was there with somebody else to
But mom
supposedly
didn't
be.
go by herself either, right?
She went by herself.
Oh, I thought
I
she
didn't
went
go
with
with.
Philip's sister.
Yeah, but I mean, how she hooked up with Phyllis' sister and all of that, I don't know all of that, how that was. I
Oh.
don't even know how she got to know Philip's sister except through Carol.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only way she could have, I think that was the only way she could have known because Carol, I think, was dating Philip,
Huh.
Michael's father. She was
Mm-hmm.
dating Michael's father.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I never said anything to her about that. And that was one of the times where something happened. That was, so I'm looking at it, really when I think about it, that's 2 times that she did something that wasn't kosher. The first one was going to that dance and not telling me or lying to me about whether she was going to go or not. Then the second time was going to this thing and coming home crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after that, we never had any incidents of that type. And it didn't seem to have any effect on how we were going to feel about each other, right? Because we really, and we were married at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in that apartment over there on Shipley Terrace. There were a couple of times when I would go to work and come home from working at St. Elizabeth. So I would come home and her old boyfriend or two would be there. But I knew them. I knew them from Spingarn. One guy's name was Wilmore Haraway, Buzz. Well, I knew Buzz because Buzz and I used to play marbles together. He lived in Lincoln Heights and I lived on Sheriff Road, and I used to walk over to his house. And he had a army, the thing they used in the army for ammunition, a box that they kept ammunition in. Then he had that thing full of marbles. And anybody knew about marbles back in that day knew that you had some really pretty multicolored marbles that we used to shoot. We used to draw a ring around the ground in the dirt, and we would shoot marbles and try to knock marbles out of the ring. You drop all the marbles in the middle, and then you'd stand up and you'd pluck the marbles and try to hit a marble in the ring and knock it out. Well, we were good at stuff like that, right? And then I used to go over Buzz's house. And that was before we went to Spingarn. So by the time we got to Spingarn, Buzz and I were buddies, right? But when I'm trying to get this story sequential. But anyway, I think that when I left Spingarn and went to McKinley. When I left Spingarn, went back to school and went to McKinley. I think during that time is when she was dating, and she dated several people. She dated Buzz, Wilmore Haraway. She dated another guy who went to the Naval Academy. I can't think of his name. And she dated another guy who went, in fact, this other guy she dated is a member of Phyllis bro's wife. I saw him at their church. Theresa and I would go visit Phyllis Ambrose Church. And I met him there. And she told me then, she said, yeah, we used to date, right? This guy. And it never really mattered to me who she had dated before and stuff like that. What I she, in fact, that was when she was dating Dave Bing also, because after she dated the guy who went to the Naval Academy, and then what's this other guy's name? I know his name, but I can't think of it. Then Dave Bing became a star on Spengon's basketball team, and she dated him. And this was before she got engaged to the guy, Iggy, who went into the service. And I'm trying to, I may have the sequence all messed up, but anyway, all of that happened. We got married. She went to work she was working for the telephone company. I went to work for St. Elizabeth's. And we, in fact, after her mother died, she left this money for her and Brenda to split. And she got something like $3,700, $3,some. And this white guy worked. He was trying to convince her to take this money and I don't know what he told her to do with it, but we decided we were going to take the money and buy a car. So we bought that 1964 Bonneville. We had a 1964 Bonneville that was, oh God, it was something to look at because it was metallic bronze and it had bucket seats. It was a convertible and oh, it was fine. This was the car that everybody was looking at. I mean, we were good. And our whole life would have been different if we had bought that damn car. If we had done what that white man said, go and put that money and buy a house, because I think he was trying to tell her to buy a house with that money, right?
Oh.
And he was trying to tell her to do what to do was right. He was telling her what he was telling her was right, but we decided we were going to buy a car. And when we bought that Bonneville, I had Nicole, I had you in that Bonneville one day and had the top down, driving down Elm Street, southeast. And we were driving past the Navy Yard on Elm Street. And the police pulled me over and told me I was speeding. And I told them there's no way I was speeding because my daughter is standing up here beside me between the bucket seats because the thing had bucket seats, 2 seats up front, and they were bucket seats, right? I said, I'm speeding down Elm Street and all this traffic. And then Theresa and I decided that he didn't like the idea of us having that Bonneville with the top down, driving down Elm Street.
So mom was in the car?
Yeah, she was in the other seat.
Mm-hmm.
And you were standing between both of us. You were standing in that console area, right?
Oh, I ain't have on no seatbelt?
They didn't have no seatbelts. Nobody had a seatbelt. Well, I didn't think that thing had seatbelts. But that worked out for a while, but that was the biggest one of the mistakes we made that turned out to not be a mistake because eventually we had to sell the Bonneville and we bought 2 Volkswagens because Leilani came to stay with us. So Leilani was going to DC Teachers, I was going to DC Teachers, Theresa was going to DC Teachers, and we were all using the Bonneville. And Bonneville was just burning up gas. So we said, we can't keep doing this, you know. So we decided to sell the Bonneville and buy 2 Volkswagens.
No, at 57.
And
All right, well, hey,
that way your mother had a Volkswagen and I had a Volkswagen, and Lonnie could share with us, you know, riding back and forth. And we kept that damn Volkswagen we kept that Volkswagen for 13 years. As a matter of fact, we sold my Volkswagen, which I thought was the better Volkswagen, because my Volkswagen had a 8-track stereo player and it had air conditioning. And nobody ever heard. I would bought that thing up on Rhode Island Avenue, right? Air conditioned Volkswagen with an 8-track player in it, right? But your mom's was new. Hers was new. So when we had to sell, we sold mine.
Hers didn't have air?
No one did. Nobody. Shoot, not many cars had air in no Volkswagen.
So you sold the one with the air?
Yeah, because that was the older one. That was the oldest one, and that was beginning to break down and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So we sold that. We kept, mine was blue. We kept hers.
The green one?
In fact, the green one. We finally gave the green one. After 13 years, we gave the green one to the lady who was teaching Andre piano lessons. We gave it to her to teach him piano lessons. Right?
Oh, y'all were bartering y'all car?
Yeah. And when we got, after we gave that up, we bought a Commandeer. We bought a Volkswagen Commandeer, which is
The other ones were automatic?
and that was convertible. That was convertible, right? No, none of them were automatic.
I got
Okay.
because I think
I got to interrupt here because I think
battery.
I'm getting ready to lose some battery. Battery sounded too.
Oh, okay.
So we probably ought to.
Well,
We probably ought to.
can pick up later.
Yes, we'll pick this up next week.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll pick this up next week.
All right. Well, look, Andre, how about if we do this every 2? Can we do it every 2 weeks, or some rule that say you got to do it every week?
There's no rule.
There's no rule. It's
Whatever you want to do.
whatever you want to do.
I think we'll try every 2 weeks.
Okay.
we'll try.
Skip
Okay,
next.
so
We'll
Skip
skip,
next week?
yeah, we'll do it every other week.
Okay.
okay.
Still gonna
Okay.
send you questions. You need to go in.
Now
and-
they're still going to
Yeah.
send you
You're
questions.
gonna have to remember which weeks we on and which weeks we off.
I'll keep.
Yeah, he'll send me a reminder.
I'll send
Send
them.
reminder.
He'll send me a reminder.
Okay.
Well, that
And
look,
you send me
those other things that I'm in, they have to do the same thing we did. They call me and remind me to get on our Zoom
So if he
meetings.
sends you a reminder, he still gotta call and remind you.
No, I'm talking about the other clubs that I'm in, like the wives club. They have to remind me every second Wednesday. They have to call me and say, "Hey, we on? Are you coming?"
I'll do that.
Oh, okay,
I just don't. Even though I have it on the calendar, I don't look at the calendar.
okay.
Got it.
And then I have to run up here and hop on and get in that thing.